Hello and welcome back to the Football Chat. Very different video today. Usually we're talking about something stupid like VAR, referees, Chelsea being shit at football. But today we're going to turn our attention towards Jordan Henderson's comments because I was thinking about this over the last few days. Obviously the article dropped yesterday at the time I'm recording. This will go out Friday by the time you're listening or watching it. And I feel like given the fact we have this platform, it feels like we should be talking about matters which do, resonate with us. And I feel like for me, Jordan Henderson's comments do have a major impact. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Henderson. We're going to talk about his statement. I strongly believe that me playing in Saudi Arabia is a positive thing. Should we start with that then, Initial? Well, we'll go through the interview slowly. There's a couple... There's obviously interesting bits if you want to listen to, read the whole article. It's obviously on The Athletic. Fantastic job from Adam Crafton and David Ornstein, by the way. So shout out to those guys. It's a fantastic interview. So I do really recommend you go and watch the whole, or go and read the whole thing. Sorry, you can't watch it. You can just watch us talk about it. So his first thing was talking about Liverpool then. And he started just by burning bridges immediately, complaining that nobody asked him to stay. Do you think this was... I mean, obviously that's what he said. Do you think that makes sense, though?
I find it very weird that the club captain for years, the team leader, the Liverpool legend, I think you could say, and no one wanted him to stay.
Well, this is what he was complaining about, because he was asked about... So David Ornstein started with, all your preparations were focused to returning to Liverpool, that sort of stuff. And he was he agreed with that, obviously. He was training in pre-season, ready to start the season for Liverpool. But then there was approach from Al-Ettifaq, which he was told about. And his biggest problem with the whole situation was that no one from Liverpool ever directly said to him, we don't want you to go. Because he even goes on to say that if anybody had said, we don't want you to go, he would have stayed at the club. Which is an interesting situation.
I find that very strange. I would be very surprised if you're telling me not a single soul at Liverpool didn't want him to stay. I mean, I could see it being, as soon as they saw him accept the offer, they probably went, well, I'm not going to commit him to stay.
I'm not surprised they don't want him to stay, though. He's a 33-year-old central midfielder who's out of his prime, has never really been that exceptional a player, and you're going to get £20 million from him, and you're going to remove his wages from the wage bill. Where in a season you're bringing in Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai and Wataru Endo. I don't really see why they wouldn't want him to leave. But, and then he goes on to talk about how Klopp told him he'd have less game time, obviously, with the new players coming in. And, obviously he's been a player that's had to deal with competition before. Players like Qatar have come in. But obviously he's not really been fit ever.
If you get older. I wouldn't expect to see a load of 30-year-old blokes playing in the Premier League because... they wanted to stay, or they were told they
exactly. Lineker's not still playing up front for Leicester because nobody ever told him they wanted him to leave. But it's interesting. So he talked about obviously why he chose to go to Saudi. He said, I'm at the last stage of my career and I want to be happy playing football. He doesn't want to sit on the bench, and he thought but staying at Liverpool, sitting on the bench would have an impact on his chances of playing for England. Now, he should not be touching the England team if he's playing for Al-Ettifaq.
And this lies on Southfield. This does not lie on Henderson.
No.
How he's in the England squad, I do not know. I think even if he was our best player, I don't know if he would touch the squad for me.
Yeah.
Even if he was our best player, just because of the fact he has gone over to Saudi Arabia to play for Al-Ettifaq. But the fact he's in the squad over some brilliant, like James Ward-Prowse has missed out.
Yeah.
And really good, players.
Doesn't have to turn out Ward-Prowse is injured, but
it doesn't really help. But it's just, it's a joke, really.
There's other young midfielders you could have called up.
Yeah.
You could have given a shot to some of the players that excelled in the U21 Euros, for example. You could have given Chuck Wemaker a call up. They have now brought Lewis Hall in, but that's only due to injuries.
Even if you want to stay in the Liverpool camp, bring in Harvey Elliott.
Or even Curtis Jones. They're all English. Give chance to people rather than a 34-year-old that shouldn't be playing at the next Euros. No. But I guess that's what Henderson loves. That's what Southgate loves, his reliable players. But so he's obviously then Ornstein asked, did you consider other options, or was it all focused on the Al-Ettifaq approach? And he basically said that he never received an offer from anyone else.
That doesn't surprise me, because who else would want a over 30 defensive midfielder who's playing a bit part of Liverpool?
He left the club before any sort of clubs were going to be looking at Henderson yet.
Yeah.
Like, people will leave it late to do their business in the window. He was gone by, I think it was, must have been end of July.
I'll say,
First week
was
of
he there
August?
before they got Gerrard in?
No, it was Gerrard that convinced him.
Gerrard,
So he went to go and join Gerrard, because he did speak about that, because he was saying, and this opportunity with Stevie in a totally different league and totally different culture was something completely different, and that excited him, that project did.
That excites him. Steven Gerrard managing Al-Ettifaq excites him.
He could be your biggest role model. I imagine he is for Jordan Henderson. Steven Gerrard played a similar role, similar-ish kind of profile.
Yeah.
He would have been an inspiration for Henderson growing up. But he's not a very good manager.
No.
So I don't really understand this.
Brilliant inspiration for Steven Gerrard. As long as you don't slip over when you need to win the title, brilliant inspiration, great role model.
Yeah, he goes on to say, it's nice to feel wanted. I know Stevie really wanted me. I know the club really wanted me to go, and they wanted me to try and build something over the next few years, something that's here to stay and be one of the best leagues in the world. So he's saying that's the motivation, because he was asked, if a Brighton or Brentford came in, would you be interested in that? And he said, well, they are projects that are interesting, but he wants to be part of this because he wants to build football everywhere, because he loves football.
He wants to build football everywhere, and he thinks that's going to be the best league in the world. That definitely sounds like he came up with that.
I was going to say, a lot of it is, I mean, I don't think the Saudi press would be too happy with what he said. Because a lot of, he sits on the fence on a lot of topics. Because he wants to keep, he doesn't want to upset the Saudis, doesn't want to upset the LGBTQ plus community.
He wants to keep his head. And he wants to try and keep
his face. So it's, it's an interesting situation, safe face. So, and then then it is kind of the big question, does that value extend to monetary? Because there'll be people saying he's just gone for the money, to which he says no, pretty much, but in a weird way. He goes, that was the hardest thing. People will see the club come with loads of money and he's just gone, yeah, I'm going. When in reality, that wasn't the case at all. People can believe me or not, but in my life, my career, money has never been a motivation, ever. Really, doubling down on that. Don't get me wrong, when you move, the business deal has to be right. You have to have the financials, you have to feel wanted, you have to feel valued, and money is a big part of that, but that wasn't the sole reason. So, he says that money isn't
come on.
a motivating factor. Crafton then asks, it's been widely reported you're earning £700,000 a week, to which he says, no, I wish I was, and then laughs.
So that's more.
Yeah. No, mate, that's so low.
Yeah. Only 700 grand a week. I want a million.
Yeah, he basically just complained that the numbers aren't true.
Right, sure.
But who knows? Even if they're not true, even if he's on £500,000 a week, that's a ridiculous amount of money for Jordan Henderson to be earning.
Yeah.
Like, quite frankly, it's not what he deserves given the market of football.
Yeah.
No, it's not his relative value. But yeah, so, and then obviously, I think Crafton smashed it with his interview, and Ornstein as well. They really asked questions that doubled down on Henderson, made him have to think and give difficult answers. He then goes, so you're saying that with Stephen, in all the conversation you had with him, he never mentioned money. And then Henderson, he doesn't say yes or no ever in this interview, you'll notice. He never just says, yeah, he did actually this one time when we were on the beach. No, he never did. He never gives a certainty. He just goes, Stevie never mentioned money. Everything I spoke to Stevie about was football and the project. But he starts waffling about other things.
The project.
Like, yeah. It's like, just say yes or no, mate.
Yeah.
Yes, we had a conversation about money. No, we didn't. Rather than all this other superfluous bullshit. But yeah, and then obviously we get on to the interesting stuff, because Henderson is a massive role model to the LGBTQ plus community. He's always been a massive supporter of that. We've seen throughout his career, he's worn the armbands, he's worn the laces, and they've all been campaigns which seemingly were close to his heart. However, obviously, by moving to Saudi Arabia, where homosexuality is illegal, definitely go back on that, right? But you would expect. But yeah, so Ornstein does then ask about that, saying that, obviously you have had a lot of backlash from LGBTQ plus rights groups around Liverpool and the wider game, and then asks, did you start to have second thoughts? Were you talking to your wife, your advisors, and your friends? Henderson says, every day it was a difficult time, definitely, don't get me wrong. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. It was just difficult to make that decision.
I don't think anyone feels sorry for you, Jordan.
God, Jordan, how are you surviving on 600,000?
He's gone to his wife and his wife gone, well, I fancy 700 grand a week, go. And what is his advisor's going to do?
We also want 700
exactly.
a week. But yeah, he speaks about obviously his love for Liverpool, and then people from the outside, and saying that there can be a lot of criticism, a lot of negativity around me as a person, and that was difficult to take. So doesn't want people to feel sorry for him, but also, guys, it was really difficult. You shouldn't be so mean for me, completely going back on my morals. But yeah, I mean, he does that throughout this interview, really. It's very politician-esque. He does go later say that he's not a politician, despite the fact every answer would tell you the opposite. But yeah, and then Crafton asks, when you say you were having those second thoughts, what were they about? And Henderson says, everything.
Yeah, so we questioned everything.
Had an existential crisis on the show one night. But yeah, he's saying about the situation with the LGBTQ plus community, with everything that's being reported in Saudi, my family, football institutions, teammates. And again, I'm not just saying this for people to think, oh yeah, I'm trying to give you some insight into what it was like. I spoke to so many different people that I trust, who know me, who will challenge me. Interesting.
I don't know about, because I have a funny feeling everyone he talked to might have said go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I want to know who he spoke to. Like,
his wife would have definitely said yes. That's go.
Yeah.
If he called up his best mate, Stephen Gerrard, and said, come join me, because I'm the only one who can speak English here and no one understands me. And I don't know, it's just, it's so bizarre. The lack of directness is very politician-esque.
Exactly that. And obviously they are all media trained and stuff. But yeah, he does eventually speak about the LGBTQ plus community, because he's asked about what reassured him. And he said, well, this is where he goes. So do I go somewhere to try something new, to grow the game that I love in another country and grow the league into one of the best in the world? That excites me because I want to grow the sport all over the world. And that got me going, really.
He wants to make the Saudi league one of the best in the world.
So we can see that's his motivation, nothing to do with the sums of money being handed his way, the ridiculous sums of money.
He was told to say
and then on the LGBT plus community, he says, I can understand the frustration, I can understand the anger, I get it. All I can say around that is that I'm sorry they feel like that. My intention was never, ever to hurt anyone. My intention has always been to help causes and communities where I felt like they had asked for my help. It's an interesting one, obviously, because he does go on to say, and we'll speak about the various campaigns he's been involved in here. He's gone on to say, because he was asked point blank, would you consider wearing the rainbow laces in a game in the Saudi Pro League? To which he said maybe.
He said maybe because he said yes, his head's gone, and if he says no, his face is gone again.
Yeah, I want to just skip that and then we'll get back to...
He's sat on the fence with so many answers because he's trying to please everyone.
Here we go. He said, so on the rainbow laces, he said, I wouldn't rule that out, but at the same time, what I wouldn't do is disrespect the religion and culture in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And I find this whole... He says culture a few times in this, and I find that really odd. Because, and Crafton goes on to talk about that as well in one of his questions, but he just, obviously Saudi Arabia, fine to describe that as a culture, but to talk about homosexuality as a culture is disingenuous. It's something that you don't just choose. You don't choose your sexuality. That's quite an obvious thing. Yet we speak about it, or Henderson does in this interview, he speaks about it as this culture, and there's just a difference in culture. And I find that really difficult to understand, really. Because it's not just a culture. It's a sexuality. It's a completely different thing. So I find it interesting. And this is trying to find Crafton's... I mean, obviously he goes on to speak about the Al-Ettifaq announcement. For a lot of people that saw that, obviously the rainbow armband was greyed out in those. Some people were saying, was that... Video ever. Well, exactly. It felt like very much that they were greying out the rainbow armband. Obviously, in Saudi Arabia, that would be frowned upon. Henderson says he didn't know anything about it until it was out, and it's hard for him to know and understand everything because it's part of the religion. But it was his comeback. So he's always going back to, respect their beliefs, respect their culture, which is the same sort of stuff we heard in Qatar, obviously. And he does talk about Qatar a little bit earlier in the interview because he is asked about it. Yeah. And his response is stupid. So I think that's fun to look at. But yeah, so Crafton obviously spoke about his experience in Qatar, seeing homophobic fans and stuff like that, seeing people having their rainbow t-shirts taken away before games, and he asks Henderson, have you actually seen or heard any evidence of change on this specific issue? So he waffles about not being a politician before going on to say that he sees him going there as a positive thing because Saudi knew he was an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community before signing him, so obviously they view him as they don't have a problem there. I don't know.
Saudi Arabia just changed their laws and their morals because Jordan Henderson's arrived.
Yeah, and he goes on to say they knew what causes and campaigns I've done in the past, and not once was it brought up. It wasn't going to be, was it?
No.
If they're signing him, they're obviously just going over. The reason they've signed him is sports washing. Again, it always comes back, doesn't it? But they've taken a huge LGBTQ plus role model out of the Premier League and moved into Saudi Arabia where they can silence him. Don't think it takes a genius to work that one out. But yeah, then he talks about Qatar, which is interesting, I think. Obviously, he speaks about... he spoke about... I'm trying to find the exact quote. I think I've got it saved. But he spoke about how basically he didn't see it while he was there. He did, like, the workers and stuff. He didn't see any workers getting abused while he was there. And it's just like, well, obviously you weren't going to see that. Why would they show you that?
Hi, Jordan Henderson. We're going to show you the worst side of our country.
Anyway, this is what Crafton said on the culture. He basically said, this is something we heard a lot during the World Cup in Qatar about having to respect the culture. When we talk about culture, I think of food, music, sports and art. When I think about a gay person, which is not something you've woken up one day and decided you want to get into, it's something that you're born with. You can't change it. So therefore, when people describe homosexuality as a culture, I think gay people really struggle with that because you're basically told them that you just have to accept living a life where you're illegal. Again, I think Crafton absolutely nails it. And that question, Henderson basically just goes, I don't know.
I'm not a politician.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a politician.
Not my job.
But yeah, it's a really good interview. So I would say anyone that hasn't read the full thing, go and read it for yourself. Make your own mind up. These are simply our opinions. Everyone's got opinions. If you want to get involved in the comments down below. I'm sure there'll be a lot of interesting debate down there. But yeah, go make your own mind up. Read the whole interview. But yeah, it's a really interesting one. But yeah, this is Henderson speaking about Qatar and all that, and saying, okay, this is a more interesting part on the LGBT+ community. So he had a long pause after that from Crafton. The quote I just read out. Then he said, now I totally understand that, and I couldn't imagine how that must feel. That's why I have so much sympathy, and the last thing I want to do is to upset you or anyone else who is part of the LGBT+ community. All I've ever tried to do is help, and when I've been asked for help, I've gone above and beyond to help. So his idea above and beyond is sticking on an armband that's a different colour and tying up some laces that are a different colour. Now, I think he's an incredible icon, but that is, he's been a great role model, an advocate for the LGBTQ+ community. But that's not going above and beyond. Like, he's just done what he's been told to do.
Yeah, and obviously now it feels like he's just backtracked everything he's already done. So even if he had gone above and beyond, he's now gone back below and nowhere. It's bizarre. I find the interesting thing about respecting the Saudi religion and culture, because there's a difference between respecting it and then agreeing or disagreeing with it.
Yeah, you can respect their right to have a cult. Yeah. That's their right to have that belief, but you don't have to respect it. You respect their right. You don't have to respect what they believe in.
Yeah,
because what they believe in is, quite frankly, a denial of basic human rights.
Henderson's answer to every other question is, we've got to respect them, guys. Yeah. It's their religion and culture.
Yeah, so he does say that, I do care. I have family and friends in the LGBTQ+ community, to which he's asked, what have they said to you? And he goes, they know me, so it's not an issue. There were people I spoke to before I made the decision. I'm comfortable knowing exactly what I am and exactly what I stand for, but I get and can accept that not everyone's going to get that, so that's why I can apologise to those people if they feel like that.
Right. But the problem is, though, those family and friends can't go visit him. because they won't come back out. So what's he expecting to do? It's bizarre.
But yeah, I'd say it goes on. I'm trying to find more interesting things. I want to find the bit where he talks about Qatar and saying that, oh, here we go. This is fantastic. This is where we go from learning. So everyone thought Henderson was a bit of a hypocrite before going. Now he just learned he's a complete idiot. So he said that by going over there, he can change the minds and work towards making it more progressive.
Like Jesus.
And he says, a perfect example would be for Qatar. We had a meeting with the FA about human rights, about the issues around the stadiums. I think it may have been Amnesty who have sent the images and stuff. So Amnesty obviously did a fantastic hit piece looking at the conditions of workers and obviously talking about how it's a direct human rights violation, all that sort of stuff. His response is, so he says, then half an hour later, I go into the press conference or some media, and I've commented on that situation. I was like, well, it was quite shocking and horrendous. And that was quite hard for us to see. But then when I went to Qatar and we had the experience we had at the World Cup, you get to meet the workers there and it's totally different. They didn't show us the dead ones, did they?
The ones that are now 6 foot under the ground.
They showed us the ones that pay to tell me they've had a nice time. Like, it's just, either he is a complete moron and he actually believes that, or at best he's ignorant of the whole situation.
Or he's told to say.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. He's either exactly. He's either completely like stupid or immoral. You know, which one do you want to be, Jordan? Really? Like
either way, neither of the great. Yeah. I don't know what. I think I'd rather be an idiot, but it's just
yeah.
It's bizarre because the Jordan Henderson from 2 years ago seemed like a proper decent bloke.
I think he is still a decent bloke.
He is obviously a decent bloke.
Put the morals. I mean, I think it has left a lot of the LGBTQ plus community questioning whether his standing up for him being a role model was ever actually genuine from this. And I think, I do personally think it was genuine. Maybe he sees the sums of money. Maybe he does believe his own bullshit and think he can go and change stuff. I mean, he goes on to say, because Crafton does, probe him on that, saying, do you not think that since you're going over there, they're going to give you a fantastic perception that's not exactly true. He says, I'm not saying that wasn't true. All this stuff might have been. But when you go there and experience for yourself, it's totally different. He's completely contradicting himself in the same sentence. It's so impressive. But I'm not saying it wasn't true, but it's totally different when you go there. Like, make your mind up.
His PR man should be rubbing his hands with glee.
I don't know. I think he'd be worried about some of the other things he said. But yeah, but he said, Qatar made rule and regulation changes for the World Cup. Is that not a positive thing? Is that not what we want? Otherwise, if we don't have the World Cup there and nobody goes there, then nothing changes for the people that are living there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they went and changed those rules back after everyone left.
Well, I do agree with this somewhat. You can create change by going into these countries and creating change. But I don't think hosting a massive World Cup where they basically just cover over all the cracks of them being, really terrible, is very smart. But yeah, he talks about how we shouldn't be judging Muslim countries and their beliefs because it was only 10 years ago in the UK that same-sex marriage became illegal. So while that is a somewhat valid argument from him, that doesn't consider the fact that homosexuality was legalised in the UK a lot sooner than that. It's only marriage that's been legalised recently, and that homosexuality has never been punishable by the death penalty.
Yes.
Not that England has never had some horrible ways to try and deal with it because they thought it was an issue, obviously, but there has always there's never been a death penalty. There's never been, oh well, you like men, you've been beheaded, exactly. Unlucky. Like,
I mean, obviously different religions are different, but surely killing someone isn't a good thing for a religion.
Well, I guess they view it they've sinned, so they don't deserve life. I don't know. It feels like, I don't know. I really can't understand religion. I know there'll be people in the comment section obviously who are heavily religious. I'm sure there'll be some Muslims watching this who, completely disagree with what we're saying, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. Get involved in the comment section. Personally, I don't have faith. I think it's admirable if you do, because I find it very difficult to try and believe in.
How you can devote your life to
I mean, it's impressive. You devote every hour of your day, because you have to go and pray and stuff. You have to abide by religious rules and stuff all the time. You're not given the same freedoms. You are constricted by that. So it's impressive, people that do keep to it. But what I would say is that homosexuality is a basic human right, and that denial of that is denial of a basic human right. So I don't know. I feel like you're entitled to beliefs, but when it encroaches on people's livelihoods and people's well-beings, I think that's where there has to be a line drawn. Because at the end of the day, there's a difference between homosexuality, which isn't a choice, and religion, which is a faith. Now, I believe in I believe in unicorns. That doesn't mean they're real. That doesn't mean everyone then has to accept that. But you do have to respect my right to believe in that. So I do respect your right to believe in it. Anyone watching that would be offended by what we've said, but equally do disagree with a lot of what you say.
And Jordan Henderson just used that as his answer, really. Respect it. Respect it. Exactly. You've got to respect it.
Anyway, Crafton goes on to talk about the Saudi League. He says, as the Saudi League infrastructure grow, what are the things you've been impressed with by, and what are the things you can get better? And Henderson says, I think there's a lot to do in terms of facilities and to improve, but he says that they're working on that. So, again, fair enough. And also saying that the culture is very different there in terms of late nighttime training and stuff like that. Obviously, very difficult to train in the day. And that, living, getting to bed late, waking up during the day, all that sort of stuff. But and then obviously he talks about being recognised and the reception. I think this one's interesting. Obviously, Crafton saying, if you were to go back to Anfield, given everything that's happened over the last couple of months, would you have any anxiety in terms of a negative reception or reaction? I think it's a good question. And he says, to be honest, Adam, the negative reaction, I think, is a lot of it is on social media and in the media, which I don't get involved with.
I'm interested to see the reaction he gets at England next week.
Well, this is interesting. He does go on to talk about that, because Ornstein then says, so he talks about having a testimonial, of whether he's had a testimonial, which Henderson says he hasn't, but he would go back and do one. Ornstein then says, England's LGBTQ plus fan group has been quite vociferous, which I can't say words sometimes, but in the last 24 hours saying there'll be no more cheering, no more banner with your face on, urging their group to turn their back to the pitch as they feel that you have turned your back on and are advocating human rights. Smashed it again. Fantastic from David Ornstein, hit the nail on the head. Henderson basically just says, it hurts to hear that, I do care. I'm not one of those people who goes home, forgets about everything. It's just like, I'm fine, my family's fine, just crack on. I do think about things a lot, but at the same time, I knew people can look at it like that and they're entitled to their opinion, they're entitled to feel like that. All I can say is I apologise, I'm sorry that I've made them feel that way, but I haven't changed as a person. I do think certain points of that may well be true. I think if he did have those beliefs before, he may well not have changed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have abandoned your position as a role model, as an advocate for LGBT rights by going somewhere where it is illegal to be gay. So it's an odd one.
The England section is just bizarre because even if he hadn't left to Saudi, I still think I'd question him being in the squad. Yeah. He hasn't got the ability, let alone the fact that I don't think he's one of England's best players, and he's gone to, and he's left to Saudi. Yeah, How was he in the squad?
Well, he says he spoke to Gareth Southgate.
All right.
I'm guessing that conversation involved, Gareth, remember what I've got on you, lad. Because what else could he have said?
I'll give you half my 1 week's salary, which is nearly $500,000.
But yeah, he said that he spoke to Southgate, who was very good. It wasn't so much a check because I knew I didn't really want to put him in that situation where he guaranteed I'd be playing for England. Obviously, he couldn't do that. But Southgate did say that he would be in
He's
the
got something
running.
on Gareth Southgate.
Exactly. But yeah, and then basically his final statement is that Ornstein says, is there anything else you want to say to people reading? And he said, no, just thanks for taking the time. I don't want a pat on the back or anything, but I could have easily not done anything. I could have just gone with another journalist, which I do respect him for that. Adam Crafton is a part of the LGBTQ plus community. He could have gone to the Sun. Yeah. And they would have asked a load of shite questions, and they probably would have given a load of pats on the back and
breakfast like in Saudi.
Well, exactly. And he says, who I may have had a relationship and felt protected by, but I felt as though this was right because I want to learn as well, because it's hard for me to hear some of the stuff that I've heard, and I want to learn why that's the case and how I can help going forward. People can make their own mind up. It's a great interview. It's a great interview. Again, thank you to Adam Crafton and David Ornstein for the interview, and obviously if you want to read it, it is available on The Athletic, so go and check that out. Any sort of final thoughts?
I am glad he did that. Because
I agree.
I mean, as much as he does have a lot of politician bullshit in there and contradicts himself a lot, it explains some of his decisions. Yeah. And makes it a little bit clearer. But still, you have to read through the kind of what you've been told to say and try to skip over those bits. But no, that's good.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? It's always interesting. It's going to be a debate that rages on for years, I think, as Saudi tries to grow its prominence. It does hurt. I think Jordan Henderson has caused a lot of hurt for the LGBTQ plus community. He was seen as a real role model, as someone who was standing up, because football is it can feel very ostracising as a gay football fan, because football is very heterosexual, very, you do it with your mates, drinking pints down the pub. And Henderson was, someone who stood up for gay people in that context. So for him to go, it's painful, especially given I think there's one other role model in Conor Cody usually does the Rainbow Laces campaign.
Yeah, he puts it on.
Yeah, and I, respect to him for the he's not gone to Saudi yet. But is he even in the Premier League anymore?
Yeah, he's
I think he went to the Championship, didn't he, with Leicester?
Oh, yeah,
there is no one left in the Prem now. So that in itself is a problem. In the current day and age where we're trying to be more inclusive in the Premier League and as a sport, the fact that there are now no real LGBTQ plus role models, we say they're role models, they're not even gay. As far as we know, obviously, there's nobody in top level football. We've had 2 professionals now. 3 professionals come out. We've got Jakob Yankto, we've got Josh Cavallo, and we've got, is it Will Dennis? Not Will Dennis. Forgotten his name now. Blackpool striker. I want to say Jake Dennis.
It's not Dennis. I don't think it's Dennis. It's Jake.
Daniels,
I think, yeah.
Yeah, so, 3, when statistically 10% of the population or of all men, something like that, is gay. obviously that's not very representative. So there is still a lot to work to do to get football to a place where it is an accepting community.
And I think
by removing these role models, having these role models not in the Premier League, I think that does hurt it.
That's what I think. Obviously, the thing is, most of it is with women's football. They're very accepting. You know,
I believe we had over 60 players at the Women's World Cup who were openly part of the LGBTQ plus community, which is sensational. Like, I think
and most of them together. Like, they're teammates or they're playing against each other. And
I hope that at some point over my lifetime, if ideally in the next 10, 20 years, we have that same situation in football, where footballers are happy to come out. They realise that won't be a negative reception, and that they can come out and they can have relationships with teammates that aren't frowned upon massively by the media and by fans. All
the gay footballers
strength in numbers.
Yeah, they're all just like same day, same hour. They'll all just.
I am Spartacus moment. They all if they all set, they can't get. Oh, I guess it's going to be an interesting situation, and we can only hope that football does strive to be more inclusive over the next sort of 5-10 years. It's always about making progress, isn't it? And I think we have made great progress over the last decade. It's about continuing that progress.
I'm intrigued to see Henderson's reaction from the England fans tomorrow night.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
because you think that England fans will. I don't know.
We're interesting because we're away at Ukraine. If we're at Wembley, I think it would be easy to see what's that reaction.
And then we're away at Scotland, so we don't really get that authentic.
The away fans haven't gone away to Poland just to boo Jordan Henderson. They might have.
They may well have.
I would.
May well have done that. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, I think that's everything for today. I just want to say to all the viewers as well, I know this is a bit of a different video, and yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this. Obviously, do get involved in the comments below. I do want to hear opinions. If your opinion differs to us, that is fine. Get involved in the comments below. I would love to hear your reasoning and stuff like that. I'm more than happy to debate this in the comments section. Please do keep it respectful, though. Is all I'm going to say. It is a bit of a sensitive subject. If you if you want to talk about it, fine. I'm more than happy to debate it. Come with structured arguments. Come with, don't just shout some horrendous homophobia in the comments and stuff like that. Like, come with structured arguments, and I'm more than happy to talk about it. But yeah, harsh.
I'll say sorry, any Steves and Harley aren't homophobic.
Exactly.
But I mean, obviously, more funny. Join us for side of us. Join us for the England game.
Yeah, it has felt a bit of it. I hope we have still put a fun spin on it. I hope this hasn't felt too down as a video. But yeah, we're obviously, if you want to see something funny, we talked about transfers as well on Wednesday. So if you need something funny in the meantime, go see that. Harry calls a load of Tottenham players shit, and then we all laugh about it. So go check that out from Wednesday, and join us for the stream tomorrow. Ukraine vs England should be a brilliant game. But yeah, I felt like we had to talk about this today. It's something that resonates with me very, very close to my heart. So I feel like we've got this platform. While it's not a huge platform, I feel like we have to talk about the issues that concern us the most. But yeah, that is everything for today. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, and of course subscribe if you're new around here. That is everything for today. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.